Hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to explain the 7th chapter of ICC course. It is titled as Achieving Intercultural Competence. Okay, so at the beginning, it's necessary to know what is the meaning of competence and the difference between competence and performance. Now, once we are talking about language, what we mean by competence is our knowledge about the language, what we know about the structure, what we know about the grammar of the language, what we know about the words, the vocabulary, semantics, syntax, and so on. And once we say performance, it means how do we use this language? How do we speak this language? How do we write this language? And so on. So once we say competence, it means the knowledge that we have about something. The knowledge we have about language, the knowledge we have about culture, the knowledge we have about society, and so on. Okay, now the intercultural competence, again, it is regarding something regarding the knowledge. So it is the ability to communicate effectively with people who belong to different cultures. This is the meaning of competence. So your ability to deal with others, with other people from different cultural background without offending them. You have to take care of the point that they come from different cultural backgrounds. So what is acceptable for you may not be acceptable for him, and vice versa. What is understood by you is not necessary to be understood by him. Okay, so I have to deal with those people without offending them, whether intentionally or unintentionally. In other words, it is the ability to get what you seek from others in a manner that maintains the relationship on terms that are acceptable to both people. It is all about nurturing multiple visions coexisting with diversity. This is the point. It is diversity. So you have to know that this world is divided into many parts. So sometimes we can include them into two parts. The diversity. So this is acceptable by some people, this is not acceptable. This expression means something positive, whereas it means something negative for some people. I'll give you an example here. Suppose that we have a driver who wants to park his car and he doesn't have the good ability to park his car with this number of cars. So this conversation will happen. Like, would you please, the first person will ask the one who is sitting there in the park, I mean the employee, to help him to park his car. So he will say, would you please help me to park my car? And the answer by that man, by the employee, will be valet, please. Okay, now what is the meaning of valet? We have to think in this way. Now, once he says valet, some people will understand that this service, to get this service, you have to pay some money for me in order to park your car. But we have to suppose that this person who needs the help is not necessary to know what is the meaning of valet. So he may say, okay, but he doesn't know what is the meaning of valet. Or he will say, okay, valet, and he will pay some money by the end of the service or once he gets his car back. So sometimes the answer will be valet, please, and it will be understood that this is a service provided by the company of valet to park the cars, so you have to pay money. And sometimes the answer will be you have to pay money. This service is by money. So this is the literal words for this service. So this is the meaning of diversity, and this is the meaning of we have to deal the people from different cultural background based on their culture and based on their knowledge. So as I've told you here, A and B are two communicators from two different cultures. Each one expresses the meaning in a different way. Okay, now we have to see what is the meaning of context in culture. Now, once we say context and once we have text, context means the environment of the text. we can get to the meaning of vocabularies based on the settings, based on the context, the environment, based on the characters, based on the plot. So this is the meaning of context, the environment of the text. Now, once we apply this meaning on culture, we again mean by the environment. So it means the place within a specific setting or situation where a communication takes place. Now, if the communication takes place in a cafe with 5 stars, rated as 5 stars, this communication will be almost different if it is made on street or if it is made outdoor or indoor. We have to think about if this communication is made at night or daytime, if it is made in public or in private. So this is the meaning of context, the context of communication. So we have to think about how the communication takes place, in which setting. So once we think in this way, we mean by the context. So this includes the location where people interact, the reason why they are together, and the nature of their relationship, if they are friends, if they are family members, and so on. So as a summary, I'll tell you something, that the communication between people will be almost different based on context. And context means 3 things. It means the location, the reason, and the relationship between people. Okay, now to be a component communicator, you need to understand 3 types of context. These 3 types of context actually are regarding the meaning here that I've told you before. I mean the location, the reason, and the relationship. So the location means the physical context. Okay. Now, the actual location where the communication takes place, whether it's indoor or outdoor, public or private, luxurious or simple, warm or cold, dark or light, crowded or quiet, all of them are under the umbrella of physical context. These locations affect people involved and their communication. Once you are sitting here, I give you an example. So these are the pictures for 2 cafes. The first one is a public in a public area, so it is not prestigious, and the second one is rated as this one. It is rated as 5 stars. So the type of communication will be almost different if you are talking with somebody here in this cafe. So you have to think about your voice, the volume of your voice, the type of communication, the way that you are dressing, the way that you are waving your hands or using your body language. It will be almost different from the ones here in this cafe. So the physical context, the location where you make the communication will be affected by the place, by the time. So physical context means settings, means time and place. The second one is social context. Social context, it deals with the norms or shared expectations that people have about various types of interactions that are encouraged or discouraged in specific social settings. The setting may be a wedding or a gathering women to celebrate and or a new baby or a university classroom and so on. So social context means the occasion where the communication takes place. Am I making the communication with you in a party, at a university, in a classroom? Am I make it like in graduation party? Am I making in the supermarket? So I have to think about the occasion or the where I make this conversation with you. So depending on social context, we adapt how to communicate to fit our culture's expectations of us, this setting. The third one is interpersonal context, the expectations we have of people based on our relationship with them. Of course, the communication between you and your friend will be always different from the communication between you and a family member, or between you and a partner or a colleague, or between your manager and you. So your relation with people will be affected by the context, will be affected by the communication that you make. So we communicate differently with a family member than with a stranger. The style of communication, what we mean by style of communication, like the words we use, the voice tone, the gestures, the rate of speech will be determined based on the person we communicate with. So if I'm making a communication with my manager, so my tone will be almost different from if I'm communicating with my friends. I have to select some words. I have to be selected with my words. It's necessary not to say anything or to express something not by saying some specific words. I have to ignore some words. I have to choose some words, polite words or prestigious words or stylish words. Okay. Now, the components of intercultural competence. To be an effective intercultural communicator, now what I mean by intercultural communicator again is that you are communicating with somebody from different cultural background. So we have to handle the following components. Number one, we have to come up with cultural knowledge, skills, and personality orientation. Let's go ahead with the first one, cultural knowledge. If I need to make a successful communication with someone who comes from a different cultural background, so I have to have a good cultural knowledge. So it includes some points. It includes awareness of one's own culture. I have to have a good background about his culture. How do they deal with some situations? How they communicate? What is acceptable? What is not acceptable? What is understood by him and what is not understood by him because of the differences between me and him. Okay, general knowledge of cultural differences. This is so important. Specific knowledge about the other cultures, ability to separate observation, interpretation, and evaluation. Actually, for this point, it will be discussed after some seconds in details. I have to have the ability to observe. I have to have the ability to notice or to watch or to look at something. I have to have the ability to translate the situation. I have to have the ability to give a perfect evaluation for the situation, and understanding the cultural adaptation process when placed in a different cultural context. So cultural knowledge, it's good for me to know what is acceptable, what is not acceptable between the two cultures, the differences between cultures, and the ability to separate observation, interpretation, and evaluation. Before continuing the skills and the personal orientation, I will get you what is the meaning of these 3 points: observation, interpretation, and evaluation. So observation means my ability to watch somebody or some interaction attentive in its cultural context. So once I want to be, or I need to be a successful communicator and a successful person to communicate with others and to adapt with the new cultures and situations, I have to have a good ability to observe. It is not necessary to give like hard reactions toward the interactions of some people, especially if they come from different cultural background. So if I observe something, it's good just to try to understand what you see and what you notice. In other words, we learn to describe what our senses are telling us. The other one is interpretation. In other words, it means a translation. We have to translate or to explain what we have observed. So I see something, I have to translate or explain it in my mind. I have to explain it. What is the meaning of? Then I have to evaluate it. I have to make an evaluation but an objective evaluation. I have to make not a positive or a negative one. So I have to attach a certain emotional or affective judgment to our negative impression. I'll tell you how now. So we have this exercise. We have to classify these situations into observation, interpretation, or evaluation. If it is observation, so I have to make O in front of the statement. If the statement is with the interpretation, so I have to make as I. And if the situation is with evaluation, so I have to make E. Okay. He is a shy person. This is actually an evaluation. Okay, I notice that he is acting in a specific way. Okay, so the evaluation that I make about that person is that he is a shy person. So this is evaluation. Okay, he wants to show how brave he is. This is an explanation I give about that person. He is, for example, he is paying a lot of money for others. So this is the action. I watch this action. So this is observation. Fine. The explanation that I make is that he is showing how brave he is. I'm sorry, not paying money. Sorry for that. Like, for example, he is fighting somebody. So he wants to show how brave he is. So this is an interpretation. The evaluation I will give for him that he is a brave man, for example. Okay, he is waving his hand. The action that he is doing now is that he is waving his hand. So this is observation. He is smiling at me as I walk up to him. So again, this is observation. He shouts. It is observation. Okay, he is tough. This is evaluation. He wants to make me feel welcome. This is an interpretation, and so on. Okay, let's go back now to the components of intercultural communication. So we look just at one of them, the cultural knowledge. It is observation, interpretation, and evaluation. The second one is regarding skills. I have to have good skills, like simple skills, just to be able to be successful in communicating with others. I have to learn to observe people while participating in their cultural context, tolerating ambiguity, and developing empathy. This will be discussed in some seconds. Asking clarifying questions in order to verify one's interpretation and adapting one's communication based on the context. I'll tell you what is the meaning of tolerating ambiguity and developing empathy. Okay. So once we say, where is it? Okay. So tolerating ambiguity, it means how we deal or react with new, uncertain, and unpredictable situations with a different cultural context. Suppose that you are meeting a person from different culture for the first time, and you see some actions or reactions from him. So I have to or I make some actions in front of him. So I have not to be ambiguous. Ambiguous or ambiguity means something unknown, something like غامض. In Arabic, we say it is غامض جدا. Okay, so this needs you to show more patience and less discomfort when encountering words, gestures, or actions. Now, in Jordan, for example, we have some actions that must or that may appear as ambiguity in front of some people from different cultural background. So if they are starting asking about why do I use this, why do I make that, why do I behave in this way, I have to be patient just to explain for them why do I do those things. Okay. For example, to what limit can you tolerate a person make high voices by chewing food? Now, for example, this action is not acceptable in some societies, like in French society and some European society, but it is acceptable in Chinese society. Like you have high voices while you are chewing your food, just to tell the others that the food is delicious and you would like to thank him. Ambiguous situations raise questions more than answers. They can engender fear or feelings of insecurity. Such feelings can result in negative and impulsive responses such as hospitality, sarcasm, and so on. Here is a question. We have to think deeply about it. What ambiguous actions or ambiguous words used in Jordan and may appear as ambiguous to strangers? I'll tell you an example. For example, why do we use spoons and forks once we are taking rice and with any dish except for al-mansaf? In al-mansaf, we don't use spoon and forks. We use our hands to eat and to take this rice. Why do we have this this difference? This is an ambiguous action may appear to some people. You have to think more about these ambiguous actions we have here in Jordan, and it may appear as ambiguous for some people from different cultural backgrounds. The other skill that we have is developing empathy. It is the understanding of others' feelings or identifying with the difficulties they face. In other words, it is concerned with understanding and responding appropriately to people's joys and anxieties without expecting anything in return. Okay, empathy. Now, empathy, what does it mean? It means that you have to be polite, you have to be mercy with someone. You have to be patient. You have to explain to him. You have to be patient with his questions, with his not understanding something. Empathy can be developed by acquiring skills from reading emotions reflected on the faces of the people you are interacting with. It is so easy to read the emotions appear on the faces of some people. If they are fear, if they are scared, terrified, if they are happy. So it is, and if you don't have this skill, so try to develop it. In high context cultures, we need to read between lines, pick up the subtle clues about how they are feeling about certain topic. Besides, curiosity about others' emotions is also necessary for developing empathy for them. Okay, let's go back now to see what do we have here. Okay, so we got the cultural knowledge, the skills that we have to have. So I have to ignore ambiguity and to describe it or to explain it. And I have to develop my empathy toward the others. Personal orientation, actually we can get strategies for interpretations. Number one, I have to have a brainstorm to give a number of explanations for a person's actions or spoken words. Sometimes if I am in a new country with a new cultural background people, so I have to make a brainstorm for some actions or for some weird or ambiguous actions appeared by those people. For example, you go to another country and someone refused to look you directly in the eyes. And when you try to make eye contact with him, he would look away. Okay, now suppose that you meet a person for the first time and he ignored looking directly at your eyes. And if you try to look at his eyes or to make eye contact, he refuses that. I have to think and brainstorm with many explanations for this action. Is he afraid of me? Does he dislike me? Is he showing a kind of respect? He is behaving appropriately as he is with a different gender from me, for example. If I'm a female and he's a male, so he feels shy. So I don't have to give direct evaluations. I have to think deeply. I have to give some brainstorm, some explanations for some actions. And the other point is that choose not to lock in a negative impression before exhausting all possible positive ones. And this is applicable in Islam as إن بعض الظن إثم والتمس لأخيك عذرا. This will help us to avoid misunderstanding. So I have to not to give direct evaluations. I have to think. I have to يجب أن أتروى في إعطاء الأحكام. I have to explain the situation as is at the beginning. Then I have to give some explanations. Okay, so this is the end of this chapter. I wish you all the luck. Goodbye.